Hi, Ali Hackett back again. As I said to you when we first started the show, I wanted to share with you my story. And this directly connects with Wake Up, Rise Up for Peace. I don't know how many of the other hosts can give you firsthand information about like what I'm getting ready to tell you about being a victim. I was a shooting victim. It goes like this, and please excuse me before if I get a little emotional, because sometimes it has a tendency to come back, that memory, as you remember maybe the first time you ever got burnt when you fried chicken or touched the hot oven. Those memories never go away. Well, this memory is the same. So I'll say to you, and I'll ask of you now, please excuse me if I get a little bit emotional. I'll try to just run the whole story. Some years ago, a very good friend of mine in the city of Chester, we went to school together, we used to sing together. His name was Sly Cruz, Greg Cruz, his name was Sly. He called me and said, Ali, would you come home and do my mom's birthday party for me at the bar? I told him I would be glad to. At the time I don't know where I was living. I was away. I wasn't in Chester. I might have been in Philadelphia. Or, I'm not sure. Probably in Philadelphia. In any event, birthday party. The place was called Newsom's Bar in Chester. I don't think it may be still there. It may not. I'm not sure. But in any event, I told him I would come and do it, and I did. Went home to my hometown, because that's where I was born and raised, in Chester, Pennsylvania. Went back to my hometown and proceeded to do his mom's birthday party, which was, I need not tell you, was a blast. We had a ball. We had a really, really good time. After the party was, several of my friends said, Ali, we're going to go out to grab some breakfast. A place called, it was in Brookhaven, Tom Jones. A place called Tom Jones in Brookhaven. You want us to wait for you, or you going to meet us out there? I said, no, you guys go ahead. I'll pack up my equipment, get paid, and then I'll meet you there. Well, unfortunately, I never met them there. What happens now are the incidents that follow. I brought out my equipment, was loading up my truck. And they're on the side of me, on the side of the building, because the building is sort of like a triangle, if you will, and it sits in the middle of two streets. I'm just giving you the visual overview of it. This guy was around the corner, and of course I didn't see him because it was dark, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever. I didn't see him, and he was standing on the corner behind the edge. So as I was putting my equipment in the car, and to get paid, I believe, when I heard somebody say, give it up. And of course, I turned around startled, because I didn't expect to see anybody, and he sort of snuck up on me or caught me off guard. And he had a gun saying, give it up. Now, immediately, I'm thinking, looking at this guy and sizing him up, I've got to him to get this gun away from him and kick his behind. That was my thoughts immediately. But looking at the situation, we were about maybe 5 to 6 feet apart. What they're telling you to do now as far as the COVID is concerned. So that's how far we were apart from each other. I knew that I couldn't lunge at him, because that would have been a deadly mistake. I knew that I couldn't rush him. That would be a deadly mistake. So I had to gracefully get close enough to him to disarm him, or I was going to disarm him, or tried to disarm him. So I said to him, I put my hands up immediately and said, what are you talking about? Give what up? What are you saying? And he says, called me a couple of colorful names, if you will. Give me the money. And I said to him, trying to reason, you see, I'm just putting my equipment in. I haven't gotten paid yet. I'm just putting my equipment in the car. So I haven't gotten paid yet. I don't get paid until I go back in. No, you got money now, MFer. give it up. And as he said that, he stepped closer to me. So what I did was a move that Muhammad Ali taught me some years ago when I was boxing. You step forward, then step back, but you step up again. It's 3 steps. You step forward, rock back, and step again. That closes the distance between you and your opponent, or you and the other person. And it did. And getting to be aggressive, trying to scare me, he stepped closer to me, not realizing how close he stepped. We were like within arm's length of each other. At that time is when I reached for the gun. My thoughts were to get the gun hand and get the gun out of his hand, and then I could do whatever was necessary to do at that point. Even as I'm talking to you, those memories are starting to flood back in. I grabbed the gun in his hand with my right hand and proceeded to lock it with my left hand. So what I was trying to do was pull the gun out front and put my back against him, use my weight and my angles to get the gun out of his hand. Somehow or another, we tussled for a few minutes. Somehow or another, I fell. When I fell, I knew that this was it. I had to do something, because he still had the gun in his hand, and now we're like about 6 feet away from each other again. Maybe I could get in the building before anything else happened. I got about, if you're looking at me now, from here to maybe my shed, maybe about 10 feet, maybe about 10 feet. Before a shot rang out, he had shot me in the back, and I went down on my face. I laid there for a couple of moments, trying to get myself together. He came over and stood over top of me while I was laying on the ground. I was laying in between his legs, laying on the ground in agony. He had shot me twice already. So he had straddled me. That's the word I'm looking for. He had straddled me, and he fired 5 more times in my back. Now, there were people milling around outside. Remember, they had just left the party. They had just left the bar. The way Chester is set up, where the bar is, there was a convenience store across the street, which was closed, but there was a housing project on the other angle. There were people milling about there that had just come from the party, talking about how good time and the records and the music and this, that, and what have you. But once they heard the shots and realized what it was, they dissipated. How many people do you know run toward shots or toward a shooting? Very few. So they dissipated. So that aspect for help for me was gone. The bar door was closed, so I don't even know if they even knew what was going on inside, those folks that were still inside. Here I am laying in the street, laying on the curb, actually on the sidewalk, where this guy had straddled me and shot me, that many times. And now he went across the street, getting out of the way, because people had dissipated and somebody said, oh, there's a shooting, he's got a gun. So maybe he was scared, maybe he was startled. I don't know what his status was, but he left me laying on the sidewalk. He ran
Phase 5 Records proudly presents.
I need to take a break right now. I'll be back to finish the story in a minute. Give me a moment, if you would, please.
Contact at phase5records.co.uk. You can also call me direct.
Thank you. I just needed that time to sort of get together here. So he went away. He ran away across the street, and I'm laying there on the cement. And I can tell you, I never knew what hot lead felt like. But now I feel it as it went through my back, bullets. I never knew what that felt like. And this is what I say to you and to anybody else. I'm just going to keep walking. It sort of helps my mind, if you will. Somebody can tell you something, but unless you've walked in their shoes, had their shoes on, tied their shoes up and walked with them, you have no idea what it's all about. You can imagine, but imagine doesn't take you right to where it is.
2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14.
Laying there on the ground, the thoughts that running through my mind is, am I going to live? Am I ever going to see anybody? Anybody, mom, dad, sisters, brothers, cousins, aunts, whoever, friends. Am I ever going to see anybody? Am I ever going to play again? Am I paralyzed? Because if I was paralyzed, then I couldn't even move. All of these thoughts are running through my brain and in microseconds. Microseconds. It's almost like someone says your whole life flashes before you. Well, it wasn't my life that flashed before me. It was what's going on right then and there. Mind you, again, I'm laying there on the sidewalk, bleeding and not knowing my conditions. I know I've been shot 6 times. Not once, not twice, not 4 or 5 times. 6 times I was shot. I gathered myself, got up, and my truck was right in front of me. So I walked around to the truck and I got in the driver's side. And I was trying to position myself in the truck so the pain wouldn't be as intense as it was. As I'm positioning myself, out the corner of my left eye, I see him coming back with the gun like this saying, I'm gonna kill you, nigger. I'm gonna kill you. I didn't panic. I reached over in my glove compartment where my weapon was. Reached in my glove compartment while he was still coming and talking. And when he got close enough to me, I tried to pull the trigger. What I mean by when I say I tried to pull the trigger, I had the safety on. I never took the safety off of it. I'm squeezing and nothing happened. But what did happen, and I thank this all to the grace of God, what did happen is he saw now a gun pointing at him. So now he's on the opposite end of this. So he freaks out and runs. What I'm about to tell you next is only from the master above. Only. Here's a guy who's sitting in his truck that has been shot 6 times, that's bleeding, has hot lead in his body. And what I do is when this guy runs, I was so mad and so intense that what I did is I chased him. I got out of my car and I chased him for 5 blocks. We wound up, if you ever go to Chester, we wound up at 9th and Penn Street. There used to be a bar there, now it's now a basketball court or whatever. We wound up at 9th and Penn Street. And here's how God works. I chased him to 9th and Penn, and all of a sudden in my mind, I saw this bright red sign. And the sign said, "Fool, go to the hospital, you've been shot." I immediately stopped chasing this guy, turned around, walked back to my car, which was 5 blocks away. Mind you, I'm still bleeding. With sorry, 6 bullets in my body that had no business there. and for no reason. I walk back to my car. I get in my car, and again, I'm trying to position myself. My shirt is completely bloody. Pants are bloody where the blood has run down. Everything is just completely
Phase
bloody.
5 Records proudly
But
presents
God allowed me to
Wake
get
Up,
back to my
Rise Up,
car.
Alive for Peace. If you're
I then
interested in
drove
joining
my
us,
truck
then please email me at
from
contact@phase5records.co.uk.
Franklin.
You can also call me direct on
5th and Franklin to Crozier Hospital. As I drive into the hospital, it just so happens that the nurses, a couple of them are outside on a smoke break. And they saw how erratically I was driving in the parking lot, all over the place. So being a nurse, I'm sure that they said something's wrong with this picture. They run over to the car and I stopped. I think the parking lots were going this way, I was that way. I don't know where the heck I was. But they run over to the car for help. As soon as they opened the car door, I fell out.
Second Chronicles chapter
They
7,
rushed
verse 14.
outside
If my
with a stretcher,
people, which are called by
put me on the
my
stretcher,
name, shall humble themselves
and took me
pray,
upstairs
and
to the
seek
operating
my
room
face,
immediately.
and turn from their wicked
I
ways,
heard the doctor
then
say
will I
before I
hear
passed,
from
before I
heaven,
blacked
and
out,
will forgive their sins,
he needs immediate
and
surgery
will heal
or else
their
he's going to
land.
die. I don't remember anything else after that, except what you see on television when you're laying on a gurney and lights are going past you like that as they're running you through the hospital. That's the only last thing I remember. When I woke up, thank God I did wake up. I was in the recovery room. And by that time, again, thank God, my family was there and some friends of mine were there. Now, it's my understanding that the friends of mine were waiting for me at the Tom Jones eating breakfast. And there were two policemen who were sitting in the next booth behind them. And they were eating their breakfast or having lunch or whatever the case, not lunch, but breakfast, because at that time of the morning. When a call came over saying there's a shooting at Newsom Bar. Well, of course, everybody heard it because they have the walkie-talkies. And everybody was saying, whoa, shooting, that's where Ali is. So they didn't know who was what, so they tried to call me on the phone. Of course, I couldn't answer my phone. So everybody now shoots over to Newsom Bar, my friends. By that time, I was already in the hospital and on the operating table. So when I woke up a little bit later, or whenever it was that I woke up, I was in the recovery room. And again, my family and friends had come for support. At Crozier Hospital, and at the time I want to say this, I was working at WHAT radio and somewhat fairly known, plus I was known in Chester. Well, the word had spread. Ali Hackett has been shot. It's my understanding that at Crozier, they had to shut down the switchboard because there were so many calls coming in trying to either verify, find out my condition, or what have you. And of course, at that time, when they do an operation, you're not allowed a lot of visitors. Well, they had to bring extra policemen and guards in because there were people coming from all over to see how I was doing. My boss at that time, the late Cody Anderson, made a special trip to come down. Guy, I love him to death, and it's unfortunate that he's gone. But there were so many people and so much outpouring of love that it's something that I will never, ever, ever, ever forget. And that's the story that happened to me. So I am a firsthand victim of gun violence, and I stand with Wake Up, Rise Up to the fullest. And that may be even why Doug Payne contacted me in the beginning to get this whole thing started, because he knew of the situation, and I guess he wanted me on board, or see if I would be interested enough to be on board to be a part of this program. And I support it 100%. I'm one of the lucky ones, if you will, if you want to call it lucky, that got shot, because it only takes one bullet. I took 6. I'm still carrying 2 now. When they had me on the operating table, they felt that I was wide open from here down. I was wide open. They felt that they got the other ones they needed to get out, but the other 2 were in an area. They didn't want to keep me exposed open too long. So they decided to close me back up and let hopefully the other 2 would pass through, natural courses, if you will. Now, this may be a little corny and it may be a little off color, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's my story. I was always worried about the 2 bullets that are inside because I love Taco Bell. And I didn't want nothing to happen and blow a hole through the toilet both ways. It might have been off color, but I want to tell it anyway. I've always thought about that, But I'm blessed. I am a living, breathing example of gun violence, but also a recovered gun violence person, but also somebody who is stepping forth to open his mouth about this craziness that's going on now. I ask you out there, you, your family, anybody you can talk to, because this thing has affected everybody in every way, shape, or form. Nephews, children, youngsters, older folks, just craziness. I ask you to stand with Wake Up, Rise Up. Whatever you can do will be appreciated. I'm not asking for financial donations. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking you for physical getting involvement in your neighborhood, in your neck of the woods, in your country, in your state, in your city, in your neighborhood. I'm asking you to get involved. This has to stop. And I would not want to see another person killed over something stupid. I ask you, join me, join Doug, join Carmen, join the rest of us, join Wake Up, Rise Up, and trying to make this official. It appears to me that the politicians really don't care about what's going on. They're doing whatever they need to do whatever they need to do. We, the grassroots people, have to make this move to stop this, or try to prevent it, or at least make the politicians accountable for what they need to do. I ask you again, and I don't mean to belabor the issue, I thank you so much for allowing me to tell my story. But take my story with you to your neighborhoods, to your city, to your state, to your country, wherever. Take my story with you because it could be you. It could be you. Let's try to stop it now. Thank you. The guy, good question. The guy was caught. You know what they say, the old saying in the Bible said, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword? He tried to rob somebody else and somebody shot and killed him. Maybe about 3-4 months after I got out of the hospital. He tried to rob somebody else and they shot and killed him. Cold-blooded, just shot him up. So he's no longer here, but there needs to be, and it's a very, very good question. There needs to be some changes in government as far as these guns are concerned. Let me say this before I close. I am not attacking the amendments that that you're not allowed to have guns. I'm not attacking that because I believe that everyone should protect themselves. My course, my question, my directive, my attitude is toward the useless, senseless violence. That's what I'm headed for. That's what I'm focusing on. That's where this is going to. Thank you much.
Second Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sins, and will heal their land.